First thing is I need to kill that echo. That's better. Silence the phone. Okay. Let's tune up that oscillator a little better. That's sounding better. A little bit of glide. Let's see how this goes. Sounding just about there. Let's latch that on and bring in the filter array. Filter down, filter array. Ooh. It's a little scratchy. Ah, welcome back. Just getting things set up right now. This Murph is a little tricky to get its envelope right. It's got a lot of sizzle in it right now. high-pitched whine creeping in there, trying to figure out. I think something's interfering with my theremin antenna. Alright. I think I tamed it. Okay, that's better. No, I think it needs a little reverb. Oh, that's a lot of reverb. Alright. Right about there seems to do it. Some feedback. Okay, I'm gonna reset this theremin antenna real quick. Looks a little goofy doing this. Alright. Little cable change. Gonna have the theremin control my feedback here. Alright. Theremin controlled feedback. There we go. Okay. Turn down this volume on the synth just a little bit. Alright, If anyone in the chat has a request from any of my readings, please let me know. Otherwise, I believe tonight I'm going to begin with the Tao Te Ching. If anyone doesn't know what the Tao Te Ching is, it is by the ancient Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu, and it is kind of the cornerstone manuscript for the philosophy of Taoism. Some of these passages go a little bit between kind of poetry, kind of proverbs, but I've always enjoyed it. Always without desire. Oh, I should turn on some reverb on my mic. Reverb test. Reverb test. There we go. Always without desire we must be found. If its deep mystery we would sound. But if desire always within us be, its outer fringe is all that we shall see. Under these two aspects, it's really the same. But as development takes place, it receives different names. Together we call them the mystery. Where the mystery is the deepest is the gate of all that is subtle and wonderful. In all the world, the beauty of the beautiful, and in doing this they have this idea of what ugliness should be. All they know is the skill of the skillful, and in doing this they have the idea of what the want of skill must be. So it is in that existence and the non-existence that give birth to the idea of the other. The difficulty and ease, that difficulty and ease produce one another and the idea of the other. That length and shortness fashion out and figure one another. The wise sage manages his affairs without doing anything. He conveys his instruction without even the use of speech. All things that spring up, and there is not one which declines to show itself. They grow, and there is no claim. They go through their process. There is no expectation. The work is accomplished. There is no resting in this achievement. The work is done, though others may not see. 'Tis this that makes the power not cease to be. I'm actually feeling something a little more poemy, I think. I might actually begin with Ryokan. Ryokan was a Japanese poet in the, I believe, mid-1800s. Let's see, where do I start here? This begins titled, Sick at Iwagama on a rainy day on the way home. Nothing but a robe and a bowl on me, I have wandered long. Here I am taken ill, still on my road, and yet to nurse myself. I sit by a window one night, an incense burner before me. The rain urges me to think about these years on the road. Once before I visited this place, led by the sacred teacher, already 20 years long, as I look back upon the past. The stream the stream before the gate and the rows of mountains behind. Their sublime beauty are still as I once saw. The last of the geese now head south, flying in lonely flocks. I am aware of the autumn that stretches on its way before me. The mountains will be stripped of their leaves in an icy shower. Far, far away, the village lies asleep, lit by the declining sun. The wind drives this rain at night, already past mid-autumn. A traveler I am, with my heavy heart on the ills of this road. Often during the long night, my uneasy dream is disturbed by the moaning of the river, forever taken by the howl of the rain. One night at the end of the road, lined with the black houses, together with a poor doting woman, I chanted the holy texts. Blame me not, friends, for blotting myself thus in soot. How many more nights, truly, am I granted here? In the deepest recess of the narrow valley stands a beauty. In her serenity, unequaled, unrivaled in her sweetness. She heaves a soft sigh, as if she were pining. All alone in the quiet shade beneath the tall bamboo thicket. This volume of poetry that sits at my house, I esteem it more than the sacred sutras or countless commentaries on them. A bush in my hand, I have made copies of my bedside screen, and now and then I brood on them, feasting on each poem. One brilliant day in fair May, I saw a silver stream, a painted barge towed upstream with a young lady aboard. She held in her soft fingers the glory of the lotus plant, the white of her skin vying with the pink of the flower. A bright youth came riding on a trot along the causeway. Under a rare green willow tree, he came to a standstill, and speechless, I fixed his gaze upon the lady on the float. He betrayed the unawareness, the fire gnawing at his inward self. A noble youth I happened to see. Not less than a god he seemed, in his graceful form. He passed by me holding a bright jewel whip in his hand. Mounted on horseback, he trotted away, brushing a willow. Above him, a young lady was looking down on the street. She plucked at the strings of her harp in her bedside window. She chased with her eyes the young man in the sunny dust, all the way until he faded on the endless road. When I was no more than a boy, I strolled about the city, always seeking pleasure in the most flourishing quarters. I dressed myself in a soft downy vest of duck feather. I often mounted a brown horse with a snowy white face. In the morning I rode out to entertain myself. At twilight I fed my eyes on the peach blossoms at Cato. I returned late, carrying not a straw to rest myself on. Questioned, I turned with a smile to a house of ill fame. Two brothers I know among my companions are of my native town. Of the same blood as they are, but disagreeable. One of them is clever, mellifluous in speech. The other is slow in response, awkward in conversation. But it seems right beyond a doubt that as I regard the slow one, it is he who has more leisure than anyone can afford, whereas the clever one runs his business without a break, hastening from place to place, achieving nothing of actual worth. I need to figure out a way to move it closer. I have some other lights that I need to get running, but some of them have gears that need to be greased a little bit. They're a little screechy. Let me see. Yeah, the other ones have come unplugged. They look better without the other lights on. That one's a little too crazy for right now, I think. That one's better when the fog machine's going. I figured out the problem. My control voltage is going into my negative feedback on this thing. Over here I have the 108M, the cluster flux, and next to that I have the MRF. The MRF is currently the one that's doing like the sequence. If I turn the MRF off, there's no MRF. There's with the MRF. Oh yeah, got the fog juice right here. But it's a nice evening, so I have all the windows open, so the fog would just blow straight out of here right now. The cluster flux is really my pride and joy Moger Foger. It has some pretty strange capabilities that I'll pull out one of these nights. It's not often that you see a chorus pedal with a MIDI plug on the back of it, but I like to plug my key step into the Moger Foger, and each key then changes the delay time, and I can just crank the feedback to infinite, and you can play it like it's a second synthesizer. And its modulation, LFO, then just acts like a vibrato in that case. Okay. Little more Ryokan. This is the road that he traveled to escape from the world. This is also the road that he traveled upon his return to the world. In going and coming, we must march along this sacred avenue. Though life and death, a shiny false flower on either side. Wise Manju sits upright, a fierce lion below him subdued. Merciful Fugan seated on the back of a white elephant. Artful Mayan transforms himself into an inlaid pedestal. Learned Unima stretches on a cushion of his couch. At the crossroads in the streets, where Hotai bore his sad bag, year after year, and yet the return of another year. None, alas, has known the endless beauty of this tramp. Let him go home now to heaven where he really belongs. I didn't realize Ryokan referred to so many people among the Buddhist community of 1800s Japan. Might have to research which ones of these don't reference so many people, who I am not familiar with already. But yes, I can rig up the cluster flux synthesizer a little bit later here if I figure out what I can unplug over here to add an extra plug to get the key step running. I've just about used up all my outlets, so I might have to undo the cube or the theremin for that. The other cool trick is running the MIDI from the theremin into the sub 37, and then rather than playing the keyboard, having theremin control over the synthesizer. That's also a lot of fun. Right now the theremin just has that cluster flux feedback. It's fairly sensitive. Okay, I'm trying to skip through some of these that they keep on referring to people I don't know. Extraordinary. One moment he is before me, and the next moment I find him beside me. His knowledge is the fruit of long years, self-discipline. His countenance is smiling, his attitude humble and respectful. None in this day could rival him. None after him will equal him. This town has damned him for their lack of practical skill. They were reticent, when required, to explain him. Great Confucius, great Confucius, all he was. You were boundless. Some fools were among your disciples, who sought to measure you, themselves never coming near. What is that I hear? Springtime has returned, but I have no place to return to. The cuckoo alone shouts at me, as if he could coo with me at home. Danger lurks everywhere, as long as we live here on this earth. But when will it be possible for me to find peace at home? A bowl and flask in my hand, I walk any distance, begging. But what can I do in spring when my gown is torn to tatters? I know full well that I have not a single coin in my begging bag. No doubt I have erred, misled by the magic power of nature. Since I left the capital, Kyoto, I have traveled for a fortnight and 2 days. I can count with my fingers. All this while, not a day expected. It poured so heavily. I drew up meager lines to express my sympathy. The wild geese beat their wet wings in the clouds. On their wayside peach trees, dropping their red branches. The boatsmen rise to see the riverbanks washed away. And my travelers groping at night for their lost ways. My own journey has more than half its way still unwalked. And I am to be arrested here, my brows knit, my eyes cast down. Last year in the autumn, a rebellious storm fell upon us, blasting pestilence for 3 days without a break, pulling sturdy trees out of their long-accustomed mounds, blowing thatched roofs far beyond the rain-lashed clouds. It sent the rice price far above the reach of a common man. The long rain will likewise bring this affliction with this spring. And if this does not stop, even while I'm despairing thus, who are the farmers, could they even avoid their own destruction? Forced by the rain, I sought shelter. In despair, here by a falling lamp in a broken temple. What use is it now to dry my wet clothes? Better it were to lie down and ease myself with singing. The rain beating my tired ears all through the night. I remain awake, my pillow forsaken. Another dawn shall come. For hours, since I sat facing you, you have stayed mute. Your meaning, ampler than words, addresses itself to me. Cases removed, books lie open, scattered by the bedside. Beyond the bamboo screen, a shower falls. On the spring night, the moon shines through a silver haze. We walk hand in hand at our lingering pace. Our smallest whisper must have shaken the silence. The ducks fly away, beating their wings through the light. A singular stroke of luck has graced my bag with a single copper coin. Therefore, I have sought your presence, my sleeping dragon. Though I have long cherished the idea of drinking with you, I have not had the luck of finding this coin in my bag before. Bird songs reach me, they linger in my ear, a riot of blossoms on this earth. I opened my cottage gate moments ago to give you welcome. The sunset lingers on the mossy ground in a soft wind. Rhyming the chimes in the wind, our chins in our hands, we think beyond time and space. A magnificent temple towers to heaven by the eternal bridge. The priests revel in its halls, the sermon of the rocks and the streams. I, for one, would gladly sacrifice my brows for my brethren, but I fear it may aggravate, already rank within the weeds. I like that one. I'm gonna have to bookmark that one. That one was just titled A Walk with My Friend Through the Moonlight and Improvisation. Alright, let's see if I have power for this key step here. What does it require? That looks easy. I can just unplug my cell phone charger. All right, quick second. Gotta grab a MIDI cable from the pile. Silence the synthesizer for a second. Rig this guy up. Okay. MIDI now going to the cluster flux. Let me turn that reverb down on here. Well, it will the moment I get this plug working. There we go. Okay, I'm going to give a little warning. Sometimes when I first get this going, it'll screech a little bit. Volume down just a touch there. And it's still running through the reverb, but let's try to get this oscillating. There is the musical chorus pedal. And then if I bring in the LFO a little bit, some reverb on that guy. It's pretty dirty sounding. Alright, gotta give it some more sound to get it oscillating again. Now, one of the other things that it does is when you have it with MIDI control is you can push that delay time out closer to what a Moger-Foger delay would do. So you're kind of beyond what the knobs will turn to, but it can get a little screechy once again. But let me tune it back to a more normal setting, and I'll see what its delay time will go to like this. So first, getting the synthesizer into it. That's still kind of chorus territory. I'll start a little arpeggiation. So, no cluster flux right now. Tighten that up a little bit. Now bringing it into normal chorus levels. And I'll start hitting this keyboard to send it different delay times. Now we're at about what normally the max on a chorus delay is. And I'll step down an octave. Now it's pretty concretely in delay territory. Now we're getting a little high-pitched whine on that. Give that a little bit of its LFO. And now we don't have to drop $1,200 on a Moger-Foger delay. I would just need a little high-pass filter to filter out that little high-pitched whine on it. And it goes even further down, but it starts to get kind of destroyed. I'll only do this for a quick second. Pretty far out there. Then I'll drive some reverb delay on top of that. I'm taking it back into normal territory. And then back into its wonky zone via MIDI. It'll go further down, I think, too. And right about there, everything's destroyed. So it's nice for some glitch. Turning that cluster flux off. There's what the synth's pumping out. Then there's what the cluster flux is pumping out right now. And I'm a fan of doing this and just touching the knob to bring it back into normal territory and gives this nice zip through the whole range. Alright, that's a fun little trick. Back to how we had things. Would help if I turned on the synthesizer. I might just keep the MIDI control going right now just in case I want to go back to a I like that trick. Back down into extreme territory. There we go. Alright, and if anyone in the chat has a request for readings, let me know. Otherwise, I'm about to page through some of the books and see what it looks like we should get into. I think after Ryokan, I have to follow it with some Hanshan. One of my personal favorites to read late at night. Hanshan was undoubtedly one of the prime influences on Ryokan, although he was about 1,000 years before him. Do you know the poems of... We'll bring some reverb back on the mic. There we go. Don't you know the poems of Hanshan? They're better for you than scripture reading. Cut them out and paste them on a screen. Then you can gaze at them from time to time. Where is the path to cold mountain? It's a little too much reverb. Test. That's better. Where is the path to Cold Mountain? On Cold Mountain, there's no clear way. Ice in summer is still frozen. The bright sun shines through the thick fog. You won't get here following me. Your heart and mine, they're not the same. If your heart was, you would have made it and you would be here. Cold Mountain is full of strange sights. Men who go there end by being scared. The water glints and gleams in the moon. Grasses sigh and sing in the wind. The bare plum blooms again, even with the snow. Naked branches here have clouds for leaves. When it rains, the mountain shines. In bad weather, you'll not make this climb. A 1,000 clouds and 10,000 streams. Here I live, an idle man, roaming green peaks by day, back to steep cliffs by night. One by one, springs and autumns go, free of heat and dust my mind, sweet to know that there's nothing that I need, silent as the autumn rivers flood. In fact, I believe Ryokan used that exact phrase, silent as the autumn rivers flood. Kind of want to plug the theremin back into something for me to reach out to it. High, high the summit peak, boundless the world to sight. No one knows I am here, the lone moon in the freezing stream. In the stream, where is the moon? Always in the sky. I write this poem, and yet there is no Zen here. 30 years in this world, I wandered 10,000 miles. By rivers buried in deep grass, in borderlands where red dust flies, tasted drugs, but still not immortal, read books and wrote histories. Now I'm back on Cold Mountain. My head in the stream cleanses my ears now. Birdsong drowns me in feeling. Back to my shack of straw to sleep. Cherry branches burn with crimson flower. Willows delicate the trail. Morning sun flares between the blue peaks. Bright clouds soak in the green ponds. Who would guess I would leave that dusty world, climbing the south slope? Alive in the mountains, but not at rest. My mind cries for the passing years, gathering herbs to find a long life. My fields deep, but veiled in clouds. But the wood is bright and the moon is full. Why am I here, and why can't I go? Heart is still tied to these enchanted pines. If there is something good, delight. Seize the moment while it flies. Though life can last 100 years, who here has seen their 30,000 days? Just an instant and then you're gone. So why sit, worrying over these things? Though, when you've read the classics through, then you'll surely know death. In case it wasn't obvious, Han-Shan was not a fan of the classics. The peach petals would like to stay, but the moon and wind blow on them. You won't find those ancient men. Those dynasties are dead and gone. Day by day the blossoms fall. Year by year the people go. Where the dust blows through these heights, there once shone a magnificent silent sea. Men who see the master of Cold Mountain, they say he's gone mad. A nothing face, a body clothed in rags. When he speaks, we can't understand. But just one word to you. Try to take the trail to Cold Mountain. Cold Mountain holds a naked bug. Its body's white and its head is black. In its hands a pair of scrolls. One is the Tao, and one is the power. I feel like I should hold the Tao as I read this one. One is the Tao, and one is power. It needs no pots or stove. Without clothes it wanders on, but still it carries wisdom's blade to cut through its mindless cravings. I'm on the trail to Cold Mountain, but this trail never ends. Long clefts thick with rock and stone, wide streams buried in dense grass. Slippery moss, yet there's been no rain here. The pine trees sigh, yet there's no wind. Who can leap this world's net and sit among the white clouds with me? Men ask me, what is the way through the clouds? The cloud way is dark, and there are no signs. High summits are of naked rock. The deep valley's sun never shines. Behind you, green peaks, and in front, to the east, white clouds, and to the west. You want to know where the cloud way lies? It is right there, in the center of the void. Sitting alone by folded rocks, mist swirling even at noon. Here inside my room it's dark. Mind is bright and clear of sound. Through the shining gate in a dream, back to the stone bridge my mind returns. Where now are those things that once troubled me? A wind-blown gourd rattling against the tree. Far off is this place that I choose to live. High hills make for silent tongues. Gibbons screech in the cold valley. My gate of grass blends into the cliff. A roof of thatch among the pines. I dig a small pool and feed it by the stream. No time to think about the world here. The years go by, shredding ferns. Level after level falls in hills. Blue-green mist clasped by clouds. Fog wets my clumsy cap. Dew soaks my coat of straw. A pilgrim sandal on my feet. An old stick grasped in my hand. Gazing down toward that land of dust. What is that world of dreams to me now? Oh, welcome back. And looks like thanks for bringing a visitor with you. I don't know if you saw earlier, but I wound up connecting the cluster flux via MIDI to this keyboard. Let me know if you'd like me to show how that operates. Right now I just kind of have it set to where I can take it out of chorus territory. You can hear it start to glitch down there and walk it back up. If I crank the feedback to infinite, it'll just start to resonate. But I'm a fan of those glitch sounds that it puts out when I drive it into territory that it wasn't designed for. Almost get like a odd digital bell type sound out of it in some spots. Now what I'll do is show you what happens when I turn off the synthesizer and just crank the feedback to infinite on it. So, filter closed. Now, it'll self-oscillate and I can play it. I'll turn off this other reverb a bit. And at this point, its LFO can just turn into a tremolo. Back with some reverb on it. Alright, but I'll bring that synthesizer back into it. I would drive it a little harder, but I'm trying to be courteous of anybody in here that might be wearing headphones because I don't have a high pass plugged into it right now. It's a little easier when I can high pass out its high-pitched whining. But I still enjoy just having it plugged into the keyboard and controlling the delay times on here with this. It's also fun to run an arpeggiation onto its delay times. So I can probably do a little bit of that right now. It's a pretty strange effect. It's subtle right now. There we go. Okay. It's a little too crazy for reading time, though. Okay. Back to the poems. I'm going to change our Murph setup ever so slightly. One of these nights I'll pull out my high-pass filter and rig it up into that. Because if I'm not too careful with that, it will, and I'm driving this delay time too deep, it will really just start screeching. So I've been thankful to be able to avoid that tonight. But I do still have it. It's not on infinite feedback right now. Oh, thank you. Oh. Always it's cold on this mountain. Every year and not just this. Dense peaks thick with snow. Black pine trees breathing mist. It's summer before the grass grows. Not yet autumn when the leaves will fall. Full of illusions, my mind roams here. Gaze and gaze, but no sight of the sky. Not knowing how far it is, this is the place now where I spend my days. The tangled vines move without the breeze. The bamboo in the light shows the dark. The streams down valley sob, but for whom? Mists cling together, but who knows why. Sitting in my hut at noon, suddenly I see now that the sun has risen. The everyday mind, that is the way. Buried in vines, inside a rock-bound cave. Here it is wild, and here it is free. Idling with my friends in the white clouds, tracks here never reach the world. I'm of no mind, so what is there to shift my thoughts to? I sit the night through on a bed of stone. Tonight the moon climbs Cold Mountain. I went off on the eastern cliff. I planned that trip for how long now? Dragged myself up by the hanging vines. Stopped halfway by the piercing wind and the fog. The thorns snared my arms on the narrow tracks. Moss so deep that my feet drowned within them. So I stopped, here, under this red pine. Head among the clouds, I'll sleep. Bright water shimmers like crystal. translucent to the furthest depth. My mind is free of every thought, unmoved by the myriad of things. Since it can never be stirred, it will have to stay like this. Knowing this way, you can see. There is no within, there is no without. There is only the void. Are you looking for a place to rest? Cold Mountain's good for many a day. The wind here sings between the black pines. The closer you are, the better it sounds. There's an old man sitting beside a tree, muttering things of the Tao. Has it been 10 years? It's been so long. This one has forgotten his way home. Cold rock. No one takes this road. The deeper you go, the finer it is. The white clouds hang on high crags. On golden peaks, a lone gibbon's cry I hear. Where are my friends? I do what pleases, and now grow old. Let the face and body alter with the years. I will still hold the bright path of mind. And that concludes Han Shan's Cold Mountain Poems. Time for a little more synthesizer, I think. I'm gonna really drive these oscillators through that filter now. size of some of this analog gears. Sometimes the change in temperature up here at night starts to affect the parameters. Alright, well I think that's nearing the end of the evening for me here tonight. Anybody out there still watching, please let me know if there's a short reading you would like me to do before I go, or if there's anything that you'd like to see what any of this gear does. Otherwise, I think I'm going to call it an evening here in just a minute. I appreciate you tuning in tonight, man. Awesome. I will crank it. Just gotta make sure you're not afraid of some distortion and feedback here. I get real glitchy with it here at the end. I feel like I'm summoning a robotic whale. Thank you very much. Now to buzz all that feedback up. And now let's see what I can get to do with the oscillators turned off. All right, I think that does it for me for the evening. Thanks for tuning in here. And I think, like I said, when I put that in the stream description, this is usually what I'd be doing late at night anyway. Although I would not be reading out loud. I would be reading silently generally. But I thought it would be a cool thing to put up for live stream occasionally. I've only done it a few times in a couple months ago when I would usually just have some of my college students tune in and they heard that I have a collection of strange instruments and strange poetry and mythology. They wanted to see what I had on there. But I'll be back around a lot more evenings now that summertime has hit and finals are done for my students. Allows me to stay up a little bit later than teachers are otherwise afforded. But cheers. I'll see you guys around another evening. And one of these evenings I'll get enough outlets prepared to where I can run some more of this gear through here. I'd like to get the Theremin's audio wired into the mixer as well, because that adds a fun touch of when I can play that, and I should say play in quotation marks because I am no theremin expert. Not many people are. But being able to play a tone from there and also use that to control a parameter on some of the effects that's also a fun trick. Good night, guys.